Why is it that tons of wealthy people like Graham Stephan, Grant Cardone, Warren Buffett, meet Kevin O'Leary, why is it that they are constantly concerned about the wealth mindset and they constantly talk about wealth mindset? What is it that they know that we haven't figured out yet? Let's find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wealthy Idiot Show. My name's AJ, and today we're talking about the wealth mindset. But before we begin, please help us out by smashing that like button real quick. It takes you 2 seconds and it helps us out tremendously so we can get this content out to as many people as possible. So as it turns out, we are statistically unlikely to become wealthy the way that we see on television. Most of us aren't going to become rap stars, major sports players, Tom Cruise actors, or invent the next widget that's going to turn us into bajillionaires. Rich uncles are probably not going to die anytime soon, or our uncles are just not that rich. The chances of winning the lottery are next to none. Most of us are going to live pretty regular lives, and we're going to try and get from point A to point B with as much time with our families, making that as fulfilling as possible. And because of all this, we're statistically just not likely to become wealthy the ways that we normally see famous people on television become wealthy. That leads us to believe that maybe we can't become wealthy and it's just not possible. It turns out that all of us have the opportunity to become wealthy. It's just that the version of wealthy that most of us are capable of becoming isn't the rich and famous kind, so we just don't see them very often. But there's two main and key components to becoming wealthy. First is the knowledge, which we talk about on this channel all the time. How to do real estate investing, index funds, get yourself a Roth IRA, put stuff in 401ks. But the second aspect to becoming wealthy is the mindset. What your brain has to do in order to convince itself that this is the process that you should be following and it's more important than whatever it is you have going on today. But why is the wealth mindset so important? Without making wealth a big or your biggest priority, it makes it really easy for today's wants and today's concerns to overtake your plan for the future. Becoming wealthy becomes nearly impossible at that point. So what is it that the wealth mindset requires? I've narrowed it down to about 5 points that we can talk about. And the first is you have to believe. We talk about the knowledge on this channel to become wealthy, and we're trying to get the ideas across that any person is capable of accomplishing this. But some people just can't believe that it's a possibility. They just can't see it. Even if people are presenting data and information and putting it in front of them, they just either can't believe it or don't want to believe it. We see Facebook posts and comments all the time where they say, most people are incapable of doing these things, and because of that, it's irresponsible to tell them that they can. We believe that anybody can do these things. One of the reasons that we advertise that we're a couple of Marines who started the Wealthy Idiots is that we come from not very much means. We didn't have anyone donate a whole bunch of money to us. Our parents weren't independently wealthy. We figured out ways to do this coming out of the Marine Corps as a couple of infantry guys. We weren't intelligence people. We weren't officers. My buddy and my partner and I were a couple of infantry guys who had deployed at some point. We came back and we figured this out. We know it's something that you can figure out, and so we believe it's irresponsible to tell people that they're not in control of their own futures and they don't have the ability to accomplish this. So believing is the first step. You have to know that this is something that's possible for you to accomplish. Once you know that this is achievable, it opens up your mind to being able to accept the information in order to make it actually happen. Turns out most wealthy people, they believe that they're capable of becoming wealthy. They believe that some of their ideas are going to work, and even when they fail, they get back up and they try again, and that belief drives them forward to become successful. So if you don't believe, then you need to figure out what it is that's limiting your ability to understand how to become wealthy. What's the factor that's making it impossible for you? And then we can have a discussion about that. If you don't believe, I'd be interested in knowing in the comments why it is that you're struggling, and maybe we can find a way for you to understand how it is that you could become wealthy and then accomplish this first step towards that wealth mindset. The second point comes right out of the first point, which is don't inflate your lifestyle to what you think is expected. This is often called keeping up with the Joneses, or you're looking at your next door neighbors thinking that you have to match their lifestyle. One of the things I noticed when I worked in retail, there was one person that had a BMW, and it was just kind of looked at as being really cool. It was a nice car. Most of us had junky cars. We didn't make enough money to really get something nice. At some point, I got the car that I have now, which is not very great. It's a pretty low end, and at the time, people thought that that was something that was really cool. After a while, I moved into this apartment complex where most people had cars, middle of the road cars like Toyotas and Hondas, and a few people had these really nice cars. And I started looking around thinking like, wow, these are some really nice cars, and maybe I'm like behind, maybe I need something a little bit nicer. I moved again, and the neighborhood I'm in now, you just see fancy cars everywhere. Porsches, Teslas, I've seen Lamborghinis, Ferraris driving all around, and it's really cool to see all these. The first thought when you see those things is, am I behind? Should I be matching, my vehicle with these guys? And the revelation kind of occurred to me that, the further you progress in life, there will always be people who are ahead of you. There will always be someone it looks like you have to keep up with. But when it comes to becoming wealthy, showing off your wealth isn't an important aspect. Not to say that at some point in the future you can't buy a cool car. I mean, if you do this process correctly and you're smart, you could buy cool cars and you can have cool stuff. But the measurement for success is not what you're driving, what you're wearing, what you're showing. The measurement for success is growing that net worth number, showing that you're capable of continuing to grow that. And I know that that's hidden, it's not as flashy, but that's the mindset bit that you have to push through in order to become successful at moving forward. Keeping up with your neighbor, trying to make sure that you look nice or that you're fitting in with the people around you is only going to cause you to become more poor, go into debt, and destroy that future that you're trying to build. Most wealthy people understand that you have to actually build the wealth, and the wealth can then fund the fun things that you get later. Manaj Arora once said, "You don't have to be like most people around you, because most people never become truly rich and wealthy." And that's true. Most people, the people who look wealthy, are not going to become wealthy. And the people who are wealthy, who do look wealthy, are probably old. Statistically, that's the case. Another interesting fact around this point is that 61% of households who make $100,000 or more use coupons. I thought that was just a really interesting point, that they've, quote unquote, made it. A lot of people say once they make, a certain amount of money, they'll be happy. And then these households are still trying to find ways to cut costs because they understand that extra wealth that they're creating, that extra income, has to go to build wealth so that they can secure their future and become financially independent. Point number 3, you need a healthy fear of being poor and an excitement around becoming financially independent. This is just the emotional aspect of pushing you forward to continue to do the right things to become wealthy or become financially independent. My fear came around, and I've told this story before, when I suddenly realized that I couldn't fund my lifestyle and I couldn't continue on with what I was doing, secure my family, make sure that they're taken care of if I lost my job. If my job ended, I didn't have any means to protect my family from anything. That fear led me to believe that I had to do more in order to ensure that we're secure and I'm not dependent on this single source of income, this single job in order to be successful. And I think a lot of people, they think that, the job is the only thing that you have and it's the only thing that you do in order to keep funding your lifestyle until, at some point when you're capable of retiring, or you go on Social Security, or you die because you never saved or invested enough money to be able to retire. But I think that not enough people are afraid of the fact that, if you lost your job and if the government couldn't step in for whatever reason, like they're insolvent or inflation is too high like it is right now and people are suffering as a result of that you have to have some sort of other answer in order to protect yourself and your family. And you should be afraid having your income being your single source, or having your job being your single source of income. You should have a healthy fear of that. On the flip side of that, you should be excited about the aspect of financial independence. Sit down and figure out what it would take for you to get to a financial independent stage, how cheap you can make your lifestyle, and then how you can replace that lifestyle with income coming from other sources, whether it be real estate, dividend payments, just appreciation from investments generally. And when you could do that and you could replace that lifestyle, you should be excited about the fact that you can now choose how to live your life. One of the things that wealthy people are capable of doing is failing. They're capable of making mistakes, getting up and trying again. We talked about that earlier. And if you have this ability to fund your minimum lifestyle, you can fail as many times as it takes for you to eventually succeed. But if you're living in a means of, this is my job income and this is what I spend in order to survive, and it's right there, which most people do, living paycheck to paycheck, you have no ability to fail. You have to keep working and you have no options. So financial independence, the idea of that should get you excited. It should be something that's interesting, and it should be a top priority on your list if it's not already. Number 4 is gamify and set goals. So the human brain does interesting things around gamification. If you don't know what gamification yet is, it's the gamifying, the achievement unlocked of just whatever it is that you're currently looking at. So if it could be a video game, like you're unlocking certain levels, you're unlocking gear, you're getting badges saying you've achieved this goal, or it could be just, something in life that you have some sort of progression or measurement on, and as you're achieving those, you're becoming more and more successful. 86% of jobs reported that gamifying their work actually increased the productivity of their employees. So just finding ways to give people credit for their achievements at work that could be public is increasing people's wants to move to the next level. Through studying gamification, scientists have figured out that the human brain releases dopamine and positive response signals as we complete these achievements, which drives us further into the future. Most wealthy people understand this to at least some degree. They may not know that that's what's happening specifically, but they understand that setting goals and achieving these goals is what's causing them to continue to be motivated to do it again. As they're gamifying their finances themselves, they're figuring out ways to release that dopamine as they're hitting these expectations, or as they're hitting their specific goals. That success and that feeling is driving them to figure out how to hit the next one. And it's creating their, kind of fueling their mental creativity in how they can accomplish that, whether it be investing, starting businesses, finding new ways to produce income. Those things will start to just flow out as you want to achieve that next goal. Thomas J. Stanley in The Millionaire Next Door stated the average wealthy person spends 10 times more time planning their finances than the average middle class individual. If you haven't sat down yet and figured out this is where I want to be and when, and these things are achievable, then that's something that you need to start looking into. The number 5 thing on the wealth mindset list is better yourself and increase your income. So there's a direct correlation between people who actively look to better themselves and their income increases over time. That correlation is important to know because it puts it in your ability and your power to look to improve yourself, find ways to be better, and then that will increase your income, which will become more that you can invest into your financial independence. The first step you can do to bettering yourself is just liking and subscribing to the Wealthy Idiot channel. It's free for you, and we're going to produce all kinds of information that's going to take you to the next level. But in all seriousness, just a general want to improve yourself, whether it be through reading books, watching YouTube videos, reading articles online, just finding ways to improve is going to expand your brain to think about things differently, and the data shows that that improves income over time. So if you're feeling like, I can't achieve this with the income that I currently have, well, spend some time every day trying to improve yourself. Learn how to fix things around your house. Learn more stuff about finances by watching Wealthy Idiot episodes. If you're more of a reader, read a book about how to improve yourself. It could be anything from just improving relationships to improving skill sets to finding new skill sets. All of those are something that's going to help you expand your mind and ultimately then improve your income. So to recap, ultimately, shifting your brain to start to understand what it takes to become wealthy is extremely important, almost as important as the knowledge it takes to actually become wealthy. Those two things have to go hand in hand in order to start moving you to the next steps, to drive that motivation to continue, to find new ideas and new solutions. And then once you start seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, it becomes much, much easier. The takeaway I hope you get is that you could see that this is possible. It's something that you're capable of doing. Us hidden wealthy people who drive junky cars and don't flash expensive clothes are around everywhere. We're just not in the media. We're not on TV. We're not flashing. We're not famous, so people just don't know we exist, but we exist all over the place. It's not as hard as you think it is. So I hope that you can come with us on this journey to become wealthy, find that financial independence that's going to help you and your family and push you into the future. So before you take off, make sure you like and subscribe. Check out the wealthyidiots.com website. We have tips, news, information coming out all the time. Calculators will add more stuff to help you guys out in this journey. And so hopefully I see you again soon. Thanks for stopping by.